So whether or not you are in your own room, in your own space, or you're here with me at the Tree of Life, you can start to caretake your comfort. So we are going to be starting on our backs today. So perhaps you might want to take something under the knees, a bolster or a rolled up blanket, a little cushion or something under the head. So we slightly tip the chin towards the chest because it helps with focus, actually, helps with the flow of energy as well up the spine. And then when you're becoming comfortable, just starting to pay a little attention to the places where the back of the body is in contact with the floor. So I'm coming around the room, for those lucky enough to be in the room, with a little aromatherapy mist. If you don't want it near you, just raise a hand or a finger now. Okay. It's a whole mixture of things. It's called Tantra Mist. It promises to do magical things like turn you into a goddess and stuff. Sorry, Laurie. But it just smells good. So I thought, because it's the new year and we have been used to lots of abundance over Christmas, but perhaps a little overindulgence, I thought, it's lovely, isn't it? I thought we might drop into a little focus around abundance in a simpler sense than what we get at Christmas, right? So dropping into the senses, dropping into richness and sensation when we practice. And obviously it's really nice to have an extra invitation. So if at home, you know, it's not too late and you're not already super comfy, you could light a joss stick. But otherwise, let's just all start to take a few deeper breaths. Noticing any smells in the room. You know, and our practice can take, you know, it can take a while to arrive. It can take the whole hour and a half, hour and a quarter to arrive. It can take longer than that to arrive in our lives, obviously, as well. But some of the ways we can help ourselves along are to focus on the senses. So let's just start with that sense of smell. Just going to check that everybody's happy on Zoom. So for those of you who've just arrived on Zoom, just if you need anything from me or if you can't hear, you can just drop something into the chat, because I can't hear you, but I can see you if you've got your video on. Okay. And obviously, if you got your video off, it's really fine. I trust you to move through your practice in a way that is kind to you. I know that you were probably regulars with Kadeen, so I don't work terribly differently. And the same for those of us in the room. It's always fine to completely ignore my instruction. It's not really instruction, it's just invitation. So feel free to ignore, stay where you are if you need to for longer, you know, move gently or do something completely different. Okay, so dropping into the sense of smell. So we could take a few deeper breaths here. And perhaps if we can't discern any smell, we might be able to drop into the feeling of the cool air as it arrives in the body through the nostrils. And the warmth of the air as it leaves the nostrils. So from here we could move to the sense of vision. So you've either got the eyes soft or the eyes are closed. I invite you to close your eyes if you feel safe and comfortable to do that, and then just notice the colour on the back of the eyelids. So this is something I used to do as a kid for hours, just look at the back of my eyelids. I used to not sleep so well. And I got very interested sometimes in some of the lights I could see and some of the color that I could see on the back of my eyelids. But it may be that you've done that, but not for a long time, if you're a weird kid like me. So just take a little time to notice any light and color that you can see with your eyes closed. Any shapes. Really just allowing yourself the simplicity of being in this moment with actually no vision on the external world. No focus on the outside for a minute. Drawing into the space of the body. And moving on to any taste in the mouth. So it's fine if you want to move your tongue around your mouth. This may be quite subtle. You may not feel anything, sense anything, that's fine. In which case, perhaps we transition to the feeling of touch inside the mouth. So how does the inside of the mouth feel? Are there parts of the mouth that are cooler than others? And then let's expand this sense of feeling to the outside of the body, feeling all the way out of the skin so we can feel the parts of the body that are touching the floor. And if you want to take a little movement to help with this connection, help with this sort of arrival of ourselves onto the mat, then you can take a few movements. But also, you don't have to. What's the quality of that connection with the floor? And then moving further, wrapping around the body with your concentration, if you like, thinking about where skin meets fabric or where it meets the air. So just really taking your time to explore the whole outside surface of the body and that sense of touch or feeling. Obviously, when we do this, we also start to drop into a sense of our body in space. So now finally moving on to the sense of hearing. What can we hear in the space outside of our room? What can we hear around us in the room? And what sounds can we discern close into the body or even from inside the body? So just notice if you're kind of straining, you're tensing and trying, this can be a really relaxed practice. We don't need to kind of strain to hear anything. Notice if the breath is still rolling freely. And if it isn't, perhaps me saying that has helped it to move. So this is a really gentle attention on the sounds that you can discern. And when you feel like you have received everything there is to with the hearing, just allow all attention on the senses to drop away, and we can start to fall back into the center of the body, into the breath. I'm just going to turn the fans off in the room so we can enjoy a little quiet. Just watching the natural movement of the breath. We don't need to change it. And we breathe a sense of space into the body. A richness and a brightness with a deeper breath or two. Perhaps even imagining this breath that you take in, it's full of light and warmth. And that oxygen that comes on the breath will spread to all of the molecules of the body. So we can imagine this brightness and lightness. If you like to have something visual, I like to think of it as light. So we can imagine this entering the body through the nostrils, traveling down into the center of the body and finding its way to all of the corners of the body, even perhaps the darker, stiffer, less comfortable, less welcome corners. So take a few deeper breaths now, and you can really enjoy taking space into the body, creating space in the body. With the exhale, we can release what's not needed. With these deeper inhales, we can begin to knock at the doors of, tense corners. We can begin to nudge that tension, and as we exhale, we can perhaps begin to release some of that into the floor, knowing that you're held by the floor, by the space. So take as many of these deeper breaths as you need, and then when you feel full, when you feel like you've received that richness of the deeper breaths, you can allow the breath to return to normal. So really working with this quality of abundance and fullness today. Not the kind perhaps that we receive in gifts, although gifts at Christmas are lovely, or even in connection with others, but the kind of abundance that we have in every moment if we search for it. So every moment that we're breathing, the potential of every moment to experience something fresh, something rich, if we are watching. So I'm going to sit up, but you can stay where you are. So in the spirit of this richness, I'm going to introduce to you a little mantra. And it's just one syllable, a seed or a bija syllable mantra. So you're familiar with the bija Om, I should think. So this one is Śrīm, Śrīm. And this is the seed mantra for a goddess called Lakshmi, who is the goddess of abundance and prosperity. And we don't need to know anything about her, actually. We can just enjoy the sound. And when we practice with this mantra, we're inviting in this abundance, this richness. So the sound Śrīm is a lovely, bright sound. So for now, I'm going to chant it to you. You might want to join me later in chanting this, or you may just be wanting to listen, and that's fine. So I'm going to chant it 3 times for you, just so you can get familiar with the sound, and you can receive this into the heart if you feel you would like to receive this as a kind of a blessing of abundance for yourselves for this week, and maybe even this year. So if you know this mantra, you can chant it internally with me if you wish. Shri. 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 So you may allow the sound of Śrīm to be placed in the heart space if you wish. And this is called nyasa, this placement of a sound or a mantra. And it is considered to be like a seed, the planting of a seed, the planting of a new awareness perhaps that you can take with you. So let's keep coming back to this sense of abundance and brightness in our practice today. Right, so we've been lying here a little while, so if you would like to have a little stretch now, you can. If you'd like to stay still for a minute, you can. I'm going to make a blanket roll for everyone. So we've just got 3 of us in the room, so I'm going to do that for everybody. And I'll show you on Zoom, because we're going to be placing a blanket behind the body, behind the shoulder blades. So we're going to make a kind of a long, thin roll of blanket, okay? You guys, if you're in the room, you can do it yourself, or you can just let me bring you one. If you need to move and need to do something now, that's fine, though, if you feel useful. So I'm rolling a blanket lengthways, and when I've done that, we're going to place this blanket roll behind the shoulder blades, kind of around where your bra line would be if you had a bra on. Apologies, men. Well, you men might be also, may have worn a bra, I don't want to assume. There's one for you there. So we're talking about sort of behind the breastbone, where we're going to pop this long roll of blanket. And then we're just going to feel the richness of the sensation of that blanket in that placement there. We're going to take the arms above the blanket roll. There you go, so just slip that down. So our arms can be in a kind of cactus. Is everyone happy with all the sort of kit around you? And you probably notice it's quite a strong sensation when you breathe in. You can really enjoy breathing into the chest. And deepening that part of the back into the blanket. So straight away, we're going for richness in our practice. Okay, lovely. Slip that under you. Nice. So if your blanket is too low down, you'll find you don't feel an awful lot. So you really want to bring it up so that it's kind of lined up with the shoulder blades, the bottom of the shoulder blades. So I would say you might want yours a little bit higher, probably, possibly. Yeah, up to you. We will be moving it to different locations, actually. But yeah, if it feels strong there, that's fine. Somewhere we can feel some sensation. And there should be a sense of opening across the chest as well. Everyone's happy in their rooms. And we just breathe here. So with mantras, the mantra is used as a mind tool. That's what mantra means. Okay, so with our Śrīm, we have brought the attention into presence with this moment through that sound. It's a way of kind of reining our mind in. And with this blanket here, we're doing the same thing. So we are taking our attention very specifically to a sensation. We're drawing ourselves into this rich sensation. So the feet can be anywhere you wish. They can either be stretched out with a little space between them all the way along the mat, or you can have feet to the floor. And if you've got your feet to the floor, it's a good idea just to knock the knees together so you're not holding in the groins. Okay. And the stretch will feel slightly different, actually. So you can play with both. But if you're comfortable, let's just drop into that sensation across the back body and the opening in the armpits. Searching for little glimmers of richness here. So I'd like you to stay here until you can feel a little softening or release across where the blanket roll is touching the back. So you might just notice a little softening. It might be the sensation becomes less intense the longer you stay. So just noticing the change in the sensation. Notice if there's anything you feel that you are holding. So are you holding on in the shoulders, in the face, even across the belly or the groins or the feet and hands? Is there any sense of striving or trying here? And if you did detect something, you know, be kind to yourself. Just know that we're all trying really hard to get things right all the time. So it's natural, but we can also let that go now. We can allow ourselves just to be here. Okay, lovely. We are just going to take our feet to the floor and we're going to move our blanket roll down about the width of the blanket roll. So just sort of 2 or 3 inches down so that it's going to be lower down on the spine. And then we're going to stretch our legs out again if that's comfortable. We're going to take the arms up high again. We could tuck the chin, just check we're aligned, and then let's just notice this new location. So just breathing into the back here. So we're working in a way here with a sense of touch as we did at the beginning as well. So can you notice a difference in intensity here from the first placement? When you inhale, can you notice any stretch even down into the pelvis or up into the arms and hands? Okay, now you're welcome to stay here longer if you're still feeling a lot of richness and sensation, but if you're ready, we can move the blanket one more time and we're going to move it down another couple of inches. So it's going to start to feel a little less strong because we've got a natural arch of the back here. Okay, so just taking it, I guess, behind the belly button here now. And then we can start to breathe into the belly button and just again, notice any sensations. Allow a real expansion across the skin of the belly, up and out into the side ribs, into the floor, and especially into the blanket roll there. Face is relaxed, jaw released, palms of the hands are soft, the groin is relaxed, knees and ankles soft. Okay, lovely. So we're going to place our feet on the floor and remove our blanket roll by pushing into the feet and just lifting the back off the floor for a second there. And if you'd like to have a spiky ball nearby, you can sort of stay where you are. Yeah, everyone reach one. Here. If you haven't got a spiky ball at home, guys, you can grab a tennis ball or you can go without. It's just a sort of added extra. You got one there? No. You haven't? Sorry, lovely. Have that one. Okay, so let's just take the feet a little away from the body and a little away from each other. Lovely. So we're going to create a kind of a bridge structure here. We can have our ball nearby. So at this point, let's maybe just take the hands onto the body, reconnecting with the heart with one hand and the belly with another hand. We can breathe into the heart and then the belly. And then if you want to take any movement here, go ahead. So any movement that you might need. And if nothing presents itself, then let's just start to do a little gentle windscreen wiper of the knees. So taking the knees to one side and then the other. So this is just to wake up the lower back, the lumbar, get a little gentle twist into the side body. So nothing technical here, just taking it as slow as you like so that you can feel sensations as they change across the back of the body. And any place that you need to pause or you'd like to pause to, breathe into any tightness, any sensations, then do that. So we're still looking for richness and we're looking to bathe any tight spots with our breath. So bringing that space in with the breath, the way we did earlier. Great. And if you just wish to stay still as well, that's fine. If you wish to lead with one knee and then the other, so that would involve a little opening in the groins, leading with one knee, the other one follows over. Find your own flow and notice if the breath has stopped. So if we're trying a little too hard, maybe the breath has stopped. So bring the breath back in. In fact, the breath can kind of lead the movement if that feels natural. Okay. And when you are ready, let's come to central again. So knees pointing towards the ceiling. Let's just draw the knees into the chest and the nose towards the knees. We'll take a hold in front of our shins. We'll curl up into a ball like one of those little wood lice when they're scared. And then take any movement you need here. Let's just really squeeze all the air out of the belly. And as we land the spine, we're lengthening the spine back to the floor, landing the head again. And then just taking hold of the knees, any movement here. So again, I'm kind of trusting you to take your own direction here. But we could draw one knee in and then the other. You could take the knees in separate circles or move them together. And of course, what we're getting here is a little back massage. So feeling any richness in the back. Just for another couple of breaths. So notice if this is something you do a lot, notice if you're kind of going into autopilot as well. And try and catch yourself if you're doing that. So maybe if you are doing that, then stop, breathe, notice the sensations in the legs, in the lower back. Slow it all down a bit. Okay, let's take the feet back to the floor. Let's grab our spiky balls in one hand, doesn't matter which hand. We're going to keep this structure of, in fact, let's take our feet a little closer into the body, sorry. So closer in towards your bum, but with a bit of space between them. So we're moving towards a bridge, a sort of super gentle bridge here in a minute. So knees want to be directly above the hips. We're just going to start to feel what happens when we press into the soles of the feet. So just going to start to press more strongly into the soles of the feet, and you notice the change of connection with the back and the floor. Hopefully you notice a little ripple of movement there. So we can play with pushing into the feet and then releasing that pressure, pushing into the feet again and releasing the pressure again. So we could keep this movement really small if we wish, or we could start to make this movement bigger. So with any kind of compassionate yoga practice, it's really important to give ourselves choices and to know that more isn't always better.
So if a really subtle movement of pushing into the feet and releasing is what you need, then stay with that. But if you wish to start to lift the pelvis off the floor, and release more and more of the spine off the floor, then you can also do that. So just play with where your edge is today, where you want to be. So the full expression of this would be that we would be pushing into the feet, we'd be rising up, so the weight is on the shoulder blades, we'd be breathing, we would draw energy down from the pelvic floor all the way up through the center of the body, and then we might start to open the hands towards the ceiling and tuck the shoulder blades away underneath the body. Okay, so this is an option for us. I haven't forgotten the spiky balls, don't worry. Have them nearby. You can also take hold of the sides of your mat if you wish. You can lift up off the heels and then drop the heels again. So all of these are options, but they're not better than just staying with that gentle movement, pushing through the feet. So if you are up high, you can now untuck the shoulders and start to come down. Perhaps just landing the pelvis for a moment or two and taking a breath here, just releasing and noticing that release through the legs, glutes, the back, arms, shoulders. And same if you're taking a smaller movement now, let's just land the pelvis for a moment. And then we're going to take our spiky balls. We're going to push into the feet again and lift the bottom up off the floor. And then I just want you to pop the spiky ball under one of your glutes, under one of your hips. So this is my New Year present to you. It may be quite painful. So obviously you'll find out fairly quickly that if you release your whole weight into the ball, it's probably going to be quite strong. Well, so I've got my ball kind of under one hip or sort of one bum cheek. And then obviously you can keep pushing into the feet a little and that takes the pressure off. So you can choose how much of a sensation you get here. And we can just play with moving our hip around on the ball. So we hold a lot of tension in our glutes. So this should feel like a sort of a firmish massage. So we're just also having this chance to just play, kind of free play with the movement of the hips, using the feet as an anchor point and the upper back as well. So I'm just going to get up and check everyone's happy. I know what you're doing. Yeah, that's it. And I find it's nice to work on one side and then the other. So in the very middle, there's quite a lot of boniness. We don't want to go there. You might even find yourself sort of dipping down to one side so you can get into the sort of side of the hip. I hope I don't make anyone get any bruises. And feel quite strong. But what I want you to do is to keep breathing. So if ever, too strong, then you'll probably stop breathing. So keep breathing, keep playing. We have this idea in Vajrasati yoga, Lila, Artha, Lakshana. So the Lila is this free play, kind of childlike play. The Artha is the purpose. So we're playing for the purpose of being absorbed in that sensation we're creating. There's definitely sensation here, isn't there? And Lakshana is the signs. So the signs that we're absorbed are our breath is flowing, we feel interested, and we feel present. So feel free, if you've been on one side, feel free to move across to the other side now. If you like, have a little smile, a little laugh at yourself. It's kind of a funny thing to be doing on a Saturday morning. Searching for sensations. taking the breath down into those places where it might feel quite uncomfortable, quite strong. And in an indirect way, with these movements, we're also kind of stretching out the heart space, the side of the body, so the side ribs, perhaps. And obviously, you know, really creating some nice movements around the whole pelvis and hips as well. Okay, so when you've had enough, you can take the ball out. Let's just press into the feet to completely lift up and then re-land the spine nice and straight. Wonderful, well done. Now let's just enjoy that release of that sensation. So tracking the memory or the kind of the echoes of those sensations of the ball and the work that it was doing. Well done. Just a couple of breaths of complete surrender. Notice if there's any holding anywhere. And then just where we are right here, right now, just taking the hands to the heart. Now you can either just listen or you can join me in a Śrīm. Okay, so just one Śrīm. So it's going to be a full breath in and then an exhale to this sound, which is a beautiful sound, bringing in brightness, lightness, inviting this rich, prosperous seed into the heart. So deep breath in if you're joining me, or you can just listen. Brilliant. Allowing the breath to settle. You can release the hands. We're going to come over onto our bellies, but we're going to have our heads facing in towards the middle of the room. So take your time. You're going to be doing kind of a 180 and a 180, if that makes sense. Coming onto our belly. So belly Shavasana. So I'm really trying to treat you today to a nice stretch from the ground. Okay, so I've got my mic ahead of me here. Hopefully everyone on Zoom can still hear me. So we can take the head onto the hands. When we come to belly Shavasana, it's really nice to just get an extra stretch along the front body. So I tend to take a few moments just to stretch out. So the first thing I do is press the hands into the floor, just lift up perhaps the whole front body down to the hips. Have a little shake across the hips, look forwards, and then see if I can extend my belly away from my hips and land the rib cage a little further from the hips, and then land the head. Okay, so we're lengthening the front spine. And then similarly, I'm going to kick each of the legs out behind me. So I'm going to lift each foot and re-land a few times. So we are lengthening the legs away from the hips as well. The hips are kind of like the hub. The belly is like the hub of this pose. So we can feel nice and long in the front body. And then I'd like you to completely release and just see what you can surrender here. If your neck is a problem, just find some kind of way of landing your head on your hands. Perhaps your forehead comes to the hands so that you can be as comfortable as you can and able to just release completely as if dead, just for 3 or 4 breaths. Really good opportunity for complete belly release. And really dropping into this sense of holding by the floor. The floor is holding you. You're safe. You can release anything you need to here into the floor. Okay, great. Now, when you're ready, you can stay there for the rest of the lesson if you want. But if you would like to have a little more, we're going to take the hands underneath the shoulders. So you can take forehead to the floor for a minute, and I'll just show you so you can have a little peek if you want. We're going to get into a couple of little flows here, and there's going to be some options. So first option is hands into the floor, elbows in towards the body, and just as we inhale, we draw in and up. So I'm not actually pushing too hard into the hands. I'm drawing the energy up from the pelvic floor, using my core muscles to lift up a little way, to look forwards, and then to come down with the out breath and to land the head. Okay, so this is a little flow. You can use the hands for support, but we're mostly using this kind of drawing up from the pelvic floor, drawing the belly in, raising the collarbones away from the floor. And we come up and down with the breath. So see if you can find a little flow of your own here. It's going to be your own pace. Really good for the low back, especially if you've been at a desk this week or hunched. Really good for the core. And you can allow the glutes to engage as long as you're not kind of clenching your buttocks together. Allow them to support as well. And the front of the big toes stay landed. So that can be kind of a connection point for you. Now, any movement that wants to happen within this, any little swaying or stopping, just allow that to come in. So it doesn't have to be linear, it doesn't have to be what I'm doing, it doesn't have to look like anything, but we want to be engaged with the sensations. Nice. So you can stay with what you're doing, or there's the option to take a slightly different movement. Okay, and this is going to be a swimming movement. So it's going to be kind of a breaststroke where we take the hands out and along the body with the in-breath. And we're coming into a shalabhasana here, so a locust. So at the top of the in-breath, I'm kind of holding my breath to show you. Yeah, yeah. We're crashing into each other in the room here. So yeah, make space. Okay, so on the in-breath, we're coming into a locust, a shalabhasana, with the hands pointing towards the body, looking forwards, and perhaps even lifting the lower legs. Okay, and then with the out-breath, we can release it all. And I really needed that because I was doing that for about 50 seconds. And then on another in-breath, we take another breaststroke. We can imagine pushing water away with the hands, looking forwards. This one's for the swimmers. So bringing a sense of flow into this movement. And when we release, let's completely release. Let's really feel the release in the lower back each time we stop between these, okay? Just taking a couple more if you want, or you can go back to the original version, the little mini cobra version. And if you need to completely release for a minute, then completely release. You can work as hard as you like here. So I really invite you to take what you need. Sometimes that extra intensity is what is needed, right? So I'm aware we've been on the floor a long time. Okay, so next thing, so let's just lift our feet off the floor. We're going to take the knees towards each other. They might not touch, and that's fine, but we're just going to bring them in towards each other and then take hold, if we can, either of one or both feet. Okay, if that's not available, that's fine, it doesn't matter. Okay, we could actually just reach back towards the feet. Just checking everyone's happy. Yeah, okay, so we're just going to feel that stretch of the quads. We bring the feet, the heels in towards the bum and breathe. Just put your head where you can for now. The option on an in-breath is to push the feet into the hands, excuse me, to look forwards and to lift into a little bow. So you can do this on one side at a time with the feet if you wish as well. So I'll demonstrate that for anyone on Zoom. So we could just take one at a time. Even quite nice to look back towards that one foot if we're doing it this way. Okay. And again, you can come into a kind of flow with this. So I want you to rest in between. And as soon as you have had enough, you feel full of this, then allow yourself that time to digest it by stopping, coming back to the ground, allowing the legs to drop, head on the hands, and breathe. So again, we can watch the echoes of sensation as they dissipate, kind of like ripples on water, spreading out. And we watch until we have that flat lake look. So sometimes if you're lucky, you go down to the beach and the sea is completely still, like a mirror. So we watch until the body is settled, the fluctuations are settled. Brilliant. That's all slowly, keeping that sense of settled mind, settled body, slowly come up to a seat. So I'm going to recommend Vajrasana, but if it's not comfy, then any seat where you can be upright. We're going to keep the gaze soft because we've been in quite a meditative sort of low to the ground space. So let's keep that intention. So gaze soft or eyes closed. Just for a minute, taking the hands into the lap. Let's feel the breath travel all the way down as if we're bathing the spine in the breath. So all the way down the length of the spine to the tailbone or the in-breath. And then tracing the spine back up. As we exhale, perhaps we can imagine breath leaving through the crown of the head. Just tracing a line from the crown of the head to the tail with the in-breath. And back from the tail to the crown with the out-breath. So we're going to take one Śrīm here. Okay, so we're going to take the hands to the heart. Now, if you want to, you can open out the hands into a lotus, which is one of the images that goes really strongly with this mantra, with this deity, Lakshmi. And the lotus represents this fertility, this open-heartedness, richness and prosperity. So it's up to you. You can play with this if you like, or you can just stay with the Anjali mudra. And as we've been breathing down the spine, we can have a sense of inhaling all the way down to the root. And then as we exhale and we chant the Śrīm, we can imagine that Śrīm traveling up from the tail to the crown, perhaps, or even out through the hands. If that's not too weird, it works for you. So deep breath in to prepare. And if you just wish to listen, that is also totally fine. You won't be offended. So deep breath in. Well done. Just allowing the hands to rest in the lap. Perhaps you can still hear that Śrīm, so you can place that in the heart again. We're going to come, when you're ready, to hands and knees. And we're going to take our socks off on the way because we will be doing a little Adho Mukha Svanasana at some point. We don't want to slip around.
Okay, just checking if I'm still able to, still happy on Zoom. Lovely, okay. Right, I'm just going to take this off, sorry. Okay, so hands beneath shoulders and knees beneath hips. Let's feel down through the center of each palm and then through the center of each knuckle. So we're really making a good connection. So coming back to that sense of touch. And from that connection with the floor, and obviously then also connecting knees, shins, and tops of feet, just noticing that connection too. From that new footing, if you like, let's then just sense the whole outside of the body again, so we can feel any air on the skin. And it might be quite nice to move around here as we do this, taking a few circles around the wrists. So any air on the skin, and then the changing sensations of moving fabric on the skin. We could gaze down between the hands. So I'm going to give you half a minute just to take any movement here you feel you need. It might be you want to come back into a child pose, which would be maybe really nice. So you might want to tuck the toes for this or not, opening out in the armpits. There might be a little swaying or coming forwards over the wrists to stretch the wrists out. And you might even want to change the orientation of the hands. So you might want to take the middle fingers to point outwards. Play with that if your wrists are tight and the wrists need a little bit of movement. We can almost sort of see this as an opportunity to kind of prowl around and get back to our animal selves a little. You can imagine. I mean, for me, actually, I'm just looking at my hands and I'm seeing little frog fingers. I'm imagining my fingers as frog fingers on a little leaf. But that might be too weird. That's fine. You might be embodying something else right now. So just feel, you could even move your knees if you like. You could even crawl around a bit. You could bring one knee closer to the wrist or the other. We can stretch back into each foot, each heel. And in your time, I just want you to find yourself in a downward facing dog. And so for that, and you know, it doesn't have to be immediate. You could continue to play here till you're ready, but let's feel that the downward facing dog is kind of an organic development or sort of expression from this movement that we're already making here. And we can move in and out of it as well. So when you do come to your downward facing dog, just make sure that your hands and your knees are equidistant from the mat, and your feet, sorry, so that you're nicely spaced and aligned. And I would say the first thing to do would be to rise up really high in the tailbone, so that we get that openness in the front body first. Heels can be far off the ground if you like, really opening in the armpits. And then from there, perhaps we start to drop the heels, but we can keep the knees really deeply bent. And you can continue this kind of prowling, this kind of play forwards and backwards over the wrists in this position too. So we can kind of come into a little plank here. At least I can't because I have something going on in my wrist, but you can play with that. We can also start to lift each foot if we want. So this is your chance to really drop into richness, to lila, to play, exploration, for the purpose of absorption. And, you know, for creating these pockets of space in the body where perhaps there has been tension. Whenever you need to rest, just coming down to the floor anytime you like. How is your breath? And how is your attention? Are you becoming automatic? I presume that you've all done quite a few of these before, so just notice if your movements are becoming automatic, and if they are, perhaps try something different. Try bringing the feet together. Perhaps try a little side plank if you're feeling brave and energetic.
And eventually, we're not going to come back down to the ground. We're going to begin to walk our feet up towards our hands. So again, in a really nice ache-like way, if you want, you can keep the upper body really soft. And we're coming into an Uttanasana. Uttanasana 1, so feet below the hips with a little space between them. And we can really deeply bend the knees here. You can take any movement or any bouncing that you like here. We might want to shake out the head, no and yes. We have our knees bent deeply enough so that we can land the upper body on the thighs. Okay, so it's quite strong in the legs. It's not kind of really resting pose, but we can have the sense of the whole upper body resting on the lower body. Just breathe deeply into the legs. Soft in the neck. And when it gets too much, if it gets too much, you can push into the feet and come up slowly. But I encourage you to stay a tiny bit longer to get this real richness in the legs. One more breath if you can. And then let's push into the feet. We can keep the knees bent. We can take the hands just above the knees. Push into the hands. We're going to bring the head up last. Okay, we've been on the floor for a really long time, so let's just take our time. Coming up gently. If ever you feel dizzy, this is a blood pressure change for us, then you can always come straight back down to the floor. Okay, lovely. Let's turn ourselves towards the front of the room if you're in here with me. We're going to have our spiky ball close by again. Feels like this is meeting for the first time. So welcome to being upright. Welcome to Tadasana. So let's just feel through the feet. We can have a roll of the shoulders or any kind of shape you might now want. Hopefully we're starting to feel nice and warm and awake and ready for our weekend. I'm going to encourage you to grab your spiky ball again if you've got one. Sorry, Zoomers, if you haven't got one. This can be for next time. You can buy them in Tiger for about £5 or probably less online, actually. I'm telling everyone that because it's New Year, they've got a lot of yoga stuff in at the moment. So it's worth a little look, yeah. So we are just taking one of these spiky balls under one of our feet. So this is a bit of a balance. So I want you to notice if you're sort of slumping into the standing leg and make sure you actively are pushing into that leg, into all corners of that standing foot, really drawing up through the crown. So this is a balance, but also it's a little massage for the spare foot. Spare foot's probably a funny way to put it, isn't it? The spare one that you don't really need because you're balancing so well. Okay. Nice. Hands can be to the hips or to the sides or even up high. So whatever you like. If you fall off your ball, that's fine. Okay, let's land that foot. Let's just notice the difference in sensation between the feet. And if you feel balanced, you could even shut your eyes for this. That richness in the foot that just had the massage. And no doubt the other one wants to have that too. So let's start to take the weight into the foot that you were massaging. Really dropping down into all corners of the feet, that foot, sorry. If you feel really balanced, you could keep the eyes shut. That's the super extra challenge version of this. Otherwise, keep the gaze soft and let's just play with the spiky ball under the other foot. So really getting around the edges of the foot, across each of the toes. And use your hands to balance you. You could try shutting the eyes again. It's really interesting and fun. Staying tall through the crown of the head. Lovely. And when you're ready, we can kick the ball away. You can enjoy the sound of it as it moves across the floor, if you've got a hard floor at home. And then let's just take the feet towards hip width. Let's take the arms out wide and up high. And if it's accessible to you, you can take the arms all the way up above, or if your shoulders need it, you can take the arms wider. Let's just gaze up between the hands.
So we can engage the core muscles here to support the lower back, but we're taking a little tiny micro stretch here. Kind of hard for me to talk in this position. And with an out breath, we can release that hands to heart. It's a couple of times like that. So kind of looks like a really easy movement, but there's quite a lot in there. We've got the opening across the chest. So let's go again when we're ready on an inhale. And in your own pace. So another 1 or 2 times. Okay, we'll do one more and then we will come to a Śrīm. Okay, feeling down through the feet, taking the hands to the heart, deep breath in to prepare. Śrīm. Well done, just allowing for a moment of gathering of stillness here. You can allow the memory of that Śrīm to fill your whole body, to travel out to all of the limbs, into the tiniest cells in the tips of your fingers, toes. And just allowing the arms to drop. When you're ready, have a little shake again. I'm going to come down to the floor. So we're going to come down the way we went up. Okay, so we're going to curl down. Let's come to the top of our mat, so towards the centre of the room. Yeah, lovely. And yeah, you might want to turn around actually into the centre of the room. That's it. Yeah, well done. Probably because we're going to be moving backwards as well. So you want to be at the front of your mat. Yeah, that's it. Lovely. So feeling through the feet, we're just going to start to dip the head, so dipping the chin. As much as possible, we're just going to allow everything to release without trying. So the arms, as we lean forwards, are just going to start to hang forwards like pendulums, penduli. We're rolling down, we're bending deeply in the knees. The hands can drop until they touch the floor. Stay here for a moment. Again, if you want to shake and nod your head, that's fine. And then we're going to take the hands, palms down, and walk our feet back and away again into downward facing dog. Just keeping the breath rolling. Perhaps this time you want a moment. There's a little bit more still, perhaps in this moment of stillness here. Lovely. And then we will land the knees. And we're just going to take a moment to sit back on our heels. Okay, so in your time. Again, just these moments of digesting the movements, the stretches. Really important. So don't feel like you need to do anything here, other than just allow everything to come into agreement, whatever that means for you. Great. Okay, we're going to come forwards to hands in a minute. Going to come forward to hands and knees. I'm just going to show you actually what we'll do, because then you can be in more of a flow that you know what you're doing. So we're going to have a couple of blocks, one either side. And we're going to be coming into a kind of a Hanumanasana, lovely back arch lunge. But there are lots of stages of this, and you might just want to play with 1 or 2 of them. Okay. So in a moment, you can just watch for a sec, but we are going to be coming forwards as we were before. So hands and knees. We're going to place the foot that is furthest from me to where its relative hand was. And then we might lift and replace the back knee, especially if it's a little bit of a fussy knee like mine are. So lift and replace. And then we can just start to play with this movement back. It's kind of a back and a curling in. Feels really nice, especially this time of year where we want to do a lot of curling in. And then just testing the waters with an opening and moving forwards.
Okay, and that suggests a little more openness in the chest as well. So we can move between those two, and then there might be a point at which we want to climb up onto the knee, or even lift up, or even to take the arms up. Okay, there's so many stages. So yeah, I'll guide you through that. Anyway, so let's start by coming forwards onto hands and knees. And obviously we do it on the other side. So yeah. So we're going to take the foot that's furthest from me, place it where its hand is, and then we'll take hold of our blocks. You can just have the hands to the floor if there's lots of space already, but I like this space that's created by having the blocks because, you know, you've got a bit more openness then across the chest. And then we move here. So we're just feeling through perhaps an exhale and lifting the front toes. And then an inhale and leaning forwards over that front. But again, if this is something you've done before, try not to sort of allow it to become automatic. See if you can notice subtleties, or perhaps stay in one position for a while, feel into that stretch. You can also move the blocks with you if you want, like I'm doing now. You can kind of use them like little stilts. Now, if this is enough for you, you can stay with this movement back and forwards, okay? But if you want to have a little more, create a little bit more heat, then you can take your hands onto the front knee. Lovely, we can feel into that stretch here. We can, on an inhale, perhaps lift up the back knee. That's just an option. You can keep the knee low as well. And as another option, we can sweep the arms up. We can look up between the hands a little bit like we did with Tadasana just now, okay? And we breathe. We can support all the way through from the pelvic floor. So we can kind of have a sense of zipping up from the pelvic floor, drawing the belly in towards the spine. That's it, lovely. If we need to come down like I do, then we can. You can move through this a few times as well, okay? So, you know, obviously come back to the other movement and then come into that again. Just take another half a minute to a minute just playing with that. See if you can find this sense of kind of, I don't know how to put it, like an offering, a gratitude offering with the body. So kind of a giving pose, this. It's really beautiful. I think the Hanuman story involves him leaping to save somebody. I'm a little bit new to my yogic stories and my Indian philosophy, but there's kind of a leap of faith here. Okay, so when you're ready, let's just bring that foot back, just rest the knee. You might need to stretch out a little bit here, stretching the legs out behind you. Take that moment of neutral, resting, stillness, stopping on hands and knees. Perhaps even coming back to sit on the heels if you need to. And then we will take the other foot, the one closest to me if you're in the room, or closer to the screen. And you know what you're doing, so I'm just going to leave you to it. So just remembering to breathe through your movements. Noticing any difference in sensation on this side. Perhaps there's a difference in the knee or the groin. If and when you feel like you want to, you can tuck the back toes. You can push into them, you can lift up. Hands on the front knee. So this is one station here, it's perfectly good. Or we can rise up in the arms, we can look up between the hands. And equally, we could even straighten the front leg. So any little play you want to have here is fine. Just allow it to be your own flow. And we drop the back knee. And come back. And take the hands to the floor. I'm going to give you time in case you want to go again with that. If you know you're just starting to find your flow with that, that's fine. And if you are also done, you feel full of sensation, you need to digest, then in that case, just come back and sit on the heels. Okay. So let's take a few deeper breaths here. These deeper breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth can feel like a really nice toxin release as well. So like really nice release of tension. And there is a release of toxins as well. Let's take a few. Excuse me. I can't quite believe that it's nearly 11:15, but it is. So when you feel like you have digested the Hanumanasana, rich pose, you feel a sense of equilibrium. I just want you to come all the way down to the floor and just take a bit of time to get comfy. So we have got time to put socks on. Would anybody not like a blanket on them? Okay, I'll come and tuck you in then if you're in the room. So if you're not in the room, I'm sorry. Tuck yourselves in. Make sure you're warm, even though it's just going to be 2 or 3 minutes. I'd like it to be a real good 2 or 3 minutes. You can pop a pillow behind your head, make sure your chin is tucked. You have eye pillows, I think. Actually, if not, then I will get them. Yes. Okay. Thanks. They're all being very self-sufficient. Yeah, you got used to it. All right. Hold on. Okay. All right. Be comfortable there with your knees up. Be comfortable there with your knees up. Yeah, okay. So maybe just take your feet a little further apart and touch your knees together, and that way you can just release. Yeah. Well done. Do you want your eye mask? That's all right. Yeah. Do you like your eye mask on as well? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Everyone's very self-sufficient. Honestly, you just need to learn to, just let people do something for you. Okay, you all look great. Okay, so just dropping into the back of the body. Let's come back to that scan of the senses that we began with. So firstly, noticing any smells that come into the nostrils. Any taste in the mouth. Any colour behind the eyes. Any sounds that are reaching you from beyond this room. From inside the room. And from inside the body. And finally, any sensation you can discern through the skin. So the places where the body is in contact with the floor, or your clothes, or the air. And then we just allow the body to breathe without any effort whatsoever. allowing the body to bring space with the in-breath. Space expanding, contracting. Well, I'm going to chant for you an ancient, very beautiful Sanskrit mantra called the Perfect Prayer, which you may know. And the words are Purnam Ada, Purnam Idam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The translation is, this is perfection, or this is fullness, a fullness or perfection. This is perfection, that is perfection. When fullness or perfection is taken from perfection, perfection remains. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Śrīm Hum. I wish you fullness and prosperity through your week, through your year. It's just allowing yourselves to take some slower, deeper breaths now. Perhaps moving fingertips and toes in your own time. Beginning to come back to the space of the room. And only when you're ready, just rolling over onto your side to face away from me or away from the screen. Excuse me. When you have fully landed there, you may roll over onto the other side to face towards the front of the room or the screen. Really landing there. Give yourself a little gratitude that you came today. It's the showing up that's the hardest bit. It's lovely to have met you all. So let's just take the hands to the heart. Coming up to sitting, sorry, take the hands to the heart. Or you can stay lying down if you want. Stay there, it's fine. Take the hands to the heart. We'll just finish with 3 Oms together, as is one of our tradition in this class. A deep breath in to prepare. Thank you all. Namo Buddhaya Namaste. To reverence to you all. Have a great week. Thank you, Zoomers, as well. Yeah. Just going to say goodbye to my Zoomers. It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's faster now, isn't it? Still, I've run over too. Thanks, you guys. So nice to see your faces. And yeah, be another time in life soon.